Time is now 6:30. Call this session of the Ridgefield City Council to order. Would you please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? Councilor Davis. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Miss Julie, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Davis.
Present.
Councilmember Favela.
Here.
Councilmember Wells.
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Here.
Councilmember Burkle. Mayor Pro Tem Chipman.
Here.
Mayor Cole.
Here. Okay. Mr. Stewart, are there any late changes to the agenda tonight?
No late changes, Mayor.
All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and get started. We have a proclamation this evening that we're looking forward to.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept Mr. Burkle's absence for this evening.
Yes, you're right. Yes, it's been moved to excuse Councilor Burkle this evening. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. And now we'll move on to our proclamation. This is for National Service Dog Month. And I'll read it, and then we have Mr. Moylan here to receive it tonight, and we're looking forward to that as well. So the proclamation says, whereas National Service Dog Month is celebrated in September to recognize the vital role service dogs play in the lives of people with disabilities and to raise awareness about supporting organizations that train and place them. And whereas a service dog's responsibility is to perform tasks that directly assist a person with a disability and provide comfort, safety, and companionship. They can be trained to guide a blind person, retrieve dropped objects, open a door, assist with balance, give seizure or diabetic alerts, or provide a reminder to take medication, and they serve wounded veterans suffering from PTSD or traumatic brain injury. And whereas with 70 million Americans living with a disability, only 16,000 service dogs from accredited training programs exist nationwide. And whereas Canine Companions, created in 1975 and celebrating its 50th anniversary, provides expertly trained service dogs and ongoing support free of charge with a new field office in Seattle. Canine Companions is working to directly serve local communities in Washington, and whereas the city of Ridgefield continues to work towards becoming an inclusive community in which all residents and their service dogs are welcome and respected. Now, therefore, I, Matt Cole, Mayor of the City of Ridgefield, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2025 as Service Dog Month and urge all residents to promote understanding of the positive impacts that service dogs have on the independence and quality of life for people with disabilities and to help foster acceptance of service dogs and public places. Dated this 25th day of September 2025 in the City of Ridgefield. Mr. Moylan, can you come up and we'll give this to you? And then we'll let you say a few words, and then we'll come down for a photo. How about that? Yeah, there you go, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, yeah.
Is this on? Thank you, Julie. Honorable Mayor, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, esteemed council members and staff. My name is Stephen Moylan. My wife, Loretta, and I, we moved here 5 years ago from southern Wisconsin, such that we could be closer to our son. We like the closeness of a small town community and the conveniences that Ridgefield offers. Mentally and physically, we are in a good place, although sometimes my wife questions my mental abilities. We do not suffer from physical or auditory disabilities, nor physical or cognitive disabilities which require a facilitator such as a parent, spouse, or caregiver. We are not veterans who have suffered a physical or auditory disability, nor suffer from PTSD. We are simply a couple who has transformed our love of dogs into supporting those who are less fortunate than we are. I bring up these conditions because there are literally millions of people in the U.S. who suffer one or more of these afflictions. However, there is hope as thousands of people are transforming their lifestyle due to the assistance of a service dog in their home. There is so much that I would like to tell you about supporting and recognizing service dogs, but that's for another time. I would like to end this with a true story. My wife and I are supporters of Canine Companions for Independence, a national organization that breeds, trains, and provides service dogs to people around the country affected with physical or mental disabilities. We visited their headquarters a number of years ago and were given a tour of the breeding and training facilities, as well as met with their administrative and training staff. They told us of a young child, autistic at birth, and the burden of care that the mother carried each day and night, to the extent that she never experienced more than a few hours of sleep. Canine Companions found a candidate service dog for the child, and the organization requires that the mother and daughter stay at the headquarters for a week to ensure that the dog and child were an appropriate match and were correctly indoctrinated together. The mother informed the staff of the first night together. The child experienced an event, a sensory overload event, and the dog sensed the situation, laid on the child, which had an immediate calming effect. The bond was so strong between the child and the dog that the mother was able, for the first time, have an 8-hour period of sleep. I mean, when my wife and I heard that story from the staff, I mean, it brought tears to our eyes. I mean, I can only imagine. But this is just one example of a service dog and how it can improve someone's lifestyle. It is an honor for my wife and I to accept the city's proclamation of September being a National Service Dog Month. It is something that we are very passionate about. Thank you so very much for supporting service dogs through this important proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you again. Council, we'll come down here and we'll take a photo.
Quiet, so I'm taking pictures, but you don't hear it. Click, click.
Okay, great. Thank you again. Thank you again. We do appreciate your advocacy for a important cause, and it's our pleasure to be able to proclaim that with you for the month of September. We're going to move on in our agenda. It's now time for public comment, and anybody wishing to address City Council regarding items not subject to a specific public hearing may come forward at this time to the podium or use the raise hand feature located on the toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom screen. For controls over the phone, press *9 for raise hand and press *6 to mute or unmute. Please state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anybody in the room tonight wishing to give public comment? All right, that's easy. Miss Julie, anybody online?
Not seeing anyone online, Mayor.
Okay, we will go ahead and close public comment and move on to the next part of our agenda, the consent agenda. Council, I would accept a motion to approve it as presented.
Motion to approve consent as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it passes. And we will go to our first order of business tonight, which is the first reading of ordinance number 1458, establishing a youth commission. Ms. Notnaris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am presenting an ordinance that would establish Ridgefield's first youth commission. And just a overview of the presentation last meeting. A youth commission is a youth-driven advisory board and a leadership program. It provides a youth-oriented point of view on community issues, and it also creates a sustainable structure for the city to assure that youth voices are heard on community issues that are of importance to them. The proposal for this commission would be that the mayor appoints and council confirms 9 members of the commission along with 3 alternate members. The 3 alternate members would be participating in all meetings and conversations, but would only have a vote if a quorum does not otherwise exist at a particular meeting of the 9 members. I did make one change as suggested by council from the presentation, and that is that all members would serve 1-year terms starting in October through September of the following year as opposed to 2 years. And the members each year would select a chair and a vice chair that would also serve a 1-year term. And then the members, along with staff, would determine the meeting schedule and meeting locations for each year, assuming that each year with different members, the commitments of each of the students would be different, so it would make sense to leave that flexible depending on who is on the commission each particular year. The qualification requirements would be that each member either attend a Ridgefield District school in the grades of 8 through 12, or that they live within the city limits and attend a different type of school, which could be a school in a different school district. It could be homeschooled, it could be a private school, but they would also be the same age that is consistent with being in a traditional 8th through 12th grade program. The commission would operate fairly simply. The city council would assign a topic area each year for the commission to research, review, in whatever way would make sense for their particular topic, which could include talking to the community, talking to other students, working with experts in the area in order to gain all of the information that they need to be informed about the topic area, and then have conversations among themselves to create recommendations for city council on that particular topic area. The management of the Youth Commission is also fairly simple. The City Council needs to adopt an ordinance to create the commission. And then the next step would be for council to adopt rules of procedure, which outline how the commission would operate on a meeting-to-meeting basis. The city manager would have the authority to appoint a staff member as program manager for the commission. And then the staff liaison would be responsible for training, orientation, facilitating meetings, providing resources necessary, whatever the commission would need in order to fulfill their mission for that particular year. The proposed topic for the 2025-26 school year is what to do about e-bikes, e-scooters, and e-mini motorcycles. This slide has some suggestions about what that might look like, but the proposed topic is obviously of interest to the community based on the increased number of electric vehicles in the community, and a lot of the riders are youth of the age of the commission, so obviously a topic of interest to youth. So the next steps in order to implement the Youth Commission and get it up and running is to adopt the ordinance establishing a commission, and then the rules of procedure, and then select the topic for this coming year. Those are the actions that council would need to take. And then The next steps, after we have the direction of what the commission should look like, the staff, with council support, would need to start a recruitment process. I do have some ideas about what the recruitment process might look like, but I am looking to you tonight to help give me some directions or make suggestions about what we want to implement. The suggestions are, first of all, work with the school district. This was a strong recommendation from the Clark County Youth Commission that this is where you will find most of your members, is by coordinating with Ridgefield School District. So that can mean having council members go into the classrooms and talk to students in classrooms. And that doesn't have to be a leadership class. It can be any class that has an audience of the right age. It could be visiting with or contacting youth groups within the school, student clubs, school counselors, career counselors, and of course getting the words out to the parents of the students who are attending school. Second idea is to engage with businesses who cater to youth, which may mean going to the corner store and talking to them, because that's where everyone goes to get their lunch, or after school snack, or outer rim bicycles, or a coffee shop, anywhere where students might be and hanging out, we could get the word out through those businesses. And lastly, the more traditional ways that we recruit, and that would be through email announcements, email newsletters, social media, whether that is a post or a reel, and then also doing a press release with local newspapers or any media who might want to pick this up. You do have some samples in front of you that are tools that could be used in the recruitment process. The first one is a business card, which is just kind of easy to hand to students, to hand to businesses, to put in businesses so people can pick them up. It has just a little bit information about the commission and what it is, along with the QR code that would take them to the city website, and more specifically the webpage that discusses the Youth Commission, provides more information, and also information about how to apply for the commission. The second thing that you have in front of you is a flyer. And the suggestion would be we could use this to distribute to parents electronically through the schools. It could be also a tool to leave or post in businesses that cater to youth or don't cater to youth. I'm just somewhere downtown, so it will be seen. The flyer could be posted in parks, where, like the skate park, where students may be. And we could also be used around downtown in not necessarily businesses, but people, places where youth might frequent, and that is the library, post office, city hall, maybe take it to churches, anywhere where we can get the word out to parents and to youth who may be interested. I think that's all. Oh, I think that's all I have right now. Two things. This is first reading, but we are requesting that you waive second reading so we can move forward in establishing the commission and start recruitment. And I also, again, would appreciate some direction and ideas on the recruitment efforts that you would like us to pursue.
Great, thank you so much. Council, we received a presentation on this a couple weeks ago, and then we're here tonight. So I'll open the floor, look around to start discussion on this, and we'll start with Mayor Pro Tem, and then we'll kind of get around and let everyone have a question or comment first, and then we'll do a second round. So Mayor Pro Tem.
Do we have an application created, Ali, for them to fill out for this?
We do have a very brief application. Good question, we had discussed making this as simple as possible.
Right.
For youth to apply. So we have a very simple application, and then the suggestion would be that we ask for a letter expressing interest in the commission and why they think that they would be qualified to be on the commission.
Great idea. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Counselor Davis.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm still very excited about this. Are we gonna do like letters of recommendation this time? We did that with the Parks Board youth position. Are we gonna do that for this or no?
I'm going to do two things. I don't think we will require letters of recommendation, but of course it could be encouraged.
Okay.
We will also need some kind of authorization form from parents.
Okay. Yeah.
Authorizing participation.
And then I guess the second thing I have is about the first meeting. I know we're gonna set the schedule because a lot of it's trying to remove barriers for kids and making it as adaptable as we can to make sure we're getting a lot of representation. I think it might be appropriate to promote at least maybe a whole week of when like the first meeting would be, just to kind of establish a timeline, like say, first meeting will be the week of October 15th through 22nd, if that's even a Monday through Monday or whatever. But, you know, whatever that is, just to give a little bit of a range so people understand, okay, you know, and then city staff can communicate it, but just to establish a little bit of a reference for when it's going to kick off.
Absolutely, I think it's a good idea to get the expectation out there.
Okay.
Great. Other comments? Counselor Hamilton. We'll go to Counselor Wells after that.
Great, thank you. So I think all of that is great. I think the first thing we really need to think about is the marketing piece. So in my opinion, 8th grade and 9th graders are going to be particularly of focus, because I think that the beginning of this needs to really attract. There's a saying I'm going to grab from another large organization that's attraction versus promotion. And I think that we need to create a really desirable experience for kids. So I grabbed a little intel from the 8th grader in my house, and I was like, what would make you want to join this? Like, what's appealing to you here? And the two things that she said, and I was like, okay, were extra credit and snacks. Those were the two very appealing snacks. And I know, I'm just here to relay the information. But I think that, especially 8th grade, I think that we have a lot to do because we want to establish something that stays with them throughout the course of this, and we want to have them having so much fun or participating and finding so much value in it that they then create their own marketing piece within their own group. So I think that that focus is particularly important. So I just wanted to make note of that.
Good suggestions. Counselor Wells.
Okay. I think in the past, I mentioned that I'd like to see them use Robert Rules of Order during their meetings to get them used to working with them. It'll be a lifelong endeavor after that. They'll have that. The other question I had, when you said there's 12 members, three alternates.
Correct.
And 9. How do you pick the alternate? I guess we need to set up a way that the alternates are picked if there is not one of the regulars there. They're going to be on a rotating basis or whatever that way. Something needs to be put in place so that one individual doesn't get picked all the time. It rotates around the alternates.
So, Counselor, I think what I would say to that is we would do an application process similar to like we do our other boards and commissions, and then we would, you know, obviously everyone's input, then we bring back the final selection here to you, and based off of that, we'd say, hey, what we have here is the 7 or the 9, and then the 3 alternates would also be included as listed as alternates, I think. So.
Yeah. That is what I was after. As say that there was 2 members missing, which one of the 2 or other 3 alternates will get to vote? Only 2 of the 3. There's going to be somebody that'll be left out. So that's something, there has to be some kind of a system set up so that it's got fairness there.
Yeah, so we can definitely create that and maybe include it in the rules of procedure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. You have anything to say, Counselor?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. Are you also looking to see what we as council would be interested in partnering with in terms of where we would like to go individually to reach out to students?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I will participate in the high school, Ridgefield High School, but I'm also connected to a couple of private schools, so I will reach out to those private schools. And then also the fire department has the youth cadet program, and I could easily access those cadets. It's important that we do tap into some of the programs through Cascadia Tech Academy, because those students are not always on campus, even though they may go to Ridgefield. So tapping into some of those Cascadia Academy classes so that we are broadening our search for students.
Okay, great, thank you.
From me, just a quick note on just what the draft ordinance says. You know, I know we've been talking about it. We said you have to be a student enrolled in Ridgefield School District at a middle school or high school. The ordinance actually says View Ridge Middle School or Ridgefield High School. It doesn't then it says, you know, our charter school or private school or homeschool too. It doesn't name Wisdom Ridge specifically. I'm just wondering if, you know, just for future consideration, is it better just to say, just kind of blanket, like enrolled in Ridgefield High School rather than naming the actual schools? I don't know what council thinks about that either. Just, you know, like, is that going to be a little bit more clear? Because I know that the plan is long-term also would be to have another middle school, so I wouldn't want to.
Maybe if you just said enrolled in Ridgefield
Yeah,
schools.
so
Yeah.
that's the only, that would be my only suggested edit to that, so we might have to include that as an amendment, but thoughts, okay. Go ahead.
I'm not on. I also echo those sentiments because the Ridgefield School District has a new homeschool program and a principal with that. So along with Wisdom, so I think just a blanket statement of Ridgefield School or all the rest of it.
Okay.
As far as the promotional effort, or you know, how we do that, you know, Councilor Favela, sounds like you could go to other schools, but, you know, my recommendation after doing the Parks Board thing, and, you know, I went by myself. I think it would be better to go in pairs to kind of team up on that. So if we could find a way to kind of have, you know, whoever's interested, obviously, like, you know, time available and everything like that, but if we could do it in twos, I think that'd be good. And then, you know, like you, Ms. Notnaris, you did mention like local churches and stuff. I think like local youth organizations, I think of Young Life, where we could at least share the flyer or an email or something like that, that they can share that with their members too, and just circulate it widely, because I would like to be able to get as wide, cast wide of a net to get, you know, a good selection of students. And if we have more students, the merrier. As you know, it's a challenge for us to kind of sift through those, but I think that's really beneficial to make sure that we get a high quality student and make sure that there's plenty of opportunity for participation. So,
Mayor and council, I think just to make sure that you're effective in kind of making sure that you're going to where you want to be to reach out and connect with youth, we can put a chart together. We can put a spreadsheet together that has all of those different opportunities, and then you can just fill in the blank of where you want to go. That way we're sure that, you know, people aren't going at cross purposes, or that there's a school that nobody goes to because we think somebody else already went to it. So,
yeah, I think that's good. Yeah.
So we'll put that together for you.
Okay, great. Councilor Hamilton, do you have something?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to circle back to the application process real quick too. I think this initial group we should make as easy as possible. So while I love a letter of recommendation and I want to encourage that for my own daughter and for kids everywhere, I think really getting kids at this point easily accessed into this program will be important. And then as we go on, we can kind of shift requirements. And then I also wanted to mention I will meet with the View Ridge principal, the counselor, and the career path person on my end.
We'll put that on the chart.
Yeah. So I think just like all of the organizations, all the meetings and stuff, like we put on the chart, and then we can identify who too. I think that'd be great. Okay. I'm glad there's so much enthusiasm for this. This is awesome. So, yeah. And there was I know this came up previously as well about a blind application process. I'm supportive of that. I guess what I found from the Parks Board process is it's a little hard to do that all the way through. So like what I'd suggest is like the first application round would be blind. We'd look through that and say, hey, who we want to pick, but it's always good to have interviews. I, you know, in the past I interviewed them directly. again, if any council members are interested, again, in twos, I think could be beneficial. If, depending on how many applicants we have, it might be good to have kind of a board style interview or two of us interview at a time or something like that. So you all get a flavor for who's applying. But then it's not blind from that point on, just so you know.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts or considerations on this, council?
That's great.
Okay. You know, because of the timing of this and everything, I think we would like to waive second on it. So I would, you know, with my suggestion to strike View Ridge Middle School and Ridgefield High School specifically and just change it to Ridgefield School District, that would be the only amendment, and then to waive second. So.
Schools or district?
Be enrolled to attend Ridgefield School District or live in the Ridgefield city limits, I think is what it would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will make a motion to waive second reading and to make an amendment.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
Yeah.
And Mayor Pro Tem, there's actually two ways you can do it. First is you can
Okay.
put the motion before the body as is and then amend it. Or if you do want to amend it, you can contain that within the original motion if you would like and simply, you know, move with the following amendment.
Okay,
Either way is fine.
can't
You
read
want
it
to see,
from there.
you want to see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so,
We can take a minute. I can write it out if you want.
no, it's okay.
Okay.
So we want to be, people to be able to be enrolled in the Ridgefield School District or live in the Ridgefield city limits. Or attend any high school education program, right?
Yeah.
As long as they live in the Ridgefield city limits or attend a Ridgefield school. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's fine. That'll get it done, right?
Okay.
So that's that one piece, but you need to wrap it into the wrap, sorry. So that's the one specific piece, so that's the amended piece, but so what I didn't hear is that you're moving approval, moving wait to waive second reading and to approve creation of the youth commission with that single amendment.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do you want me to take a minute and write it out for you? I'm happy to do that. It's our meeting. We can take the time to do it, so.
You're already there.
Yeah.
I mean, you already said what you needed to do, you just have to move the rest of it. Just include the rest of it.
And approve the
Ordinance.
Youth Commission.
And approve, oh, I'm sorry, and approve the youth commission.
There you go.
There you
Thank you.
go.
Okay,
Okay.
good grief, okay.
Do I have a second, council?
I'll second it.
Okay. It has been moved and seconded to waive second reading and amend the language to say Ridgefield School District, must be enrolled in Ridgefield School District or live in the city limits, and approve the formation of the Ridgefield Youth Commission.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. Okay, council, any discussion?
Just to be clear, that means anyone in 98642.
No.
No, it means it's Ridgefield School District, which, you
Yeah.
know, can go as far south as Mount Vista, as you know.
Yes.
And, or live in the city limits, which is not necessarily just,
Okay.
you know, it's more specific than 9642. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have any issue with that?
I don't. Do you have an issue with it?
I just want to be as inclusive as possible in,
Yeah, I
in the
think it does
98642.
cover it, yeah. Because the district includes all of 9642.
Okay, so like someone perhaps in the donut hole area
One second, yeah.
goes to a Ridgefield school could still attend.
Because they're still in the
Yes.
642.
Okay,
Yes.
just wanted to make sure.
Zip code.
Yep.
Just making
Counselor Favela.
But that just brought up a point. If they're not attending a Ridgefield school, they have to live in the city limits. So
Yes.
doesn't that
Correct.
narrow down?
It's both broad and narrow at the same time. So if you're enrolled in a Ridgefield School District, live in the
You can
big
live anywhere, but if you don't go to the Ridgefield School District, you only can be in the city limits.
Yes. Counselor Davis.
So as an example, if you lived in the donut hole and went to a private school, you would not be eligible for this.
Correct. As drafted, that is correct.
I don't think I like that.
Okay, give me some options.
If we're saying you can be in the Ridgefield School District and that encompasses all of 98642, then it shouldn't matter where you go to school. If you're in 98642, you should be able to participate. Why narrow it down. Sorry.
So the theory behind this, as we've talked about before, the theory behind this is that one group of kids that go to Ridgefield schools, whether it's the high school or the middle school, wherever they actually live, they go to school with 2/3 of the population in those schools actually live in the city of Ridgefield. That's the population split. So you figure they're at the school, they're hearing from their friends, they are affected by those issues, and they affect the issues of the city. So that's the, if you're going to school portion of it. The other kids was council saying, you know, there's a lot of kids that are going to different schools, but still live here. They live downtown, they live in the neighborhoods, they're riding e-bikes, they're riding scooters, they're affected by these things. So even if they don't go to the schools, they still live with a lot of the kids that go to the schools. So that's why the city limits was chosen. In our other advisory bodies, we have a mix, but in most of our advisory bodies, we do require residents in city limits, but we have set a precedent in at least one of our bodies. Was it Planning Commission?
Planning Commission.
In Planning Commission, where the council did approve having one of the members of the Planning Commission actually live in the urban growth boundary, so still part of Ridgefield limits, but 98642, much broader. So if you didn't, I will say this as someone who actually grew up in 98642 and did not go to Ridgefield schools. I did not have a connection with downtown Ridgefield or with what was going on in Ridgefield. I just didn't, you couldn't have that connection. It didn't exist. So that would be, that's the reasoning that came from that.
Councilor Davis.
Yeah, I was just going to use your example because I teach at the school that Steve went to. And I have students that have 98642 addresses, and there's like no tie to Ridgefield outside of them wearing their in and out shirts now. So, yeah, I mean, when I think about the donut hole situation and the proximity to obviously what goes on in the city, it's easier to tie in, but the exclusion would be with also the caveat that they would not be attending Ridgefield School District schools. And I'm not sure how big that population is,
Right.
and I'm not sure exactly how to craft language that captures what could be 0 people. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how many live in the donut hole that have kids that are 8th through 12th grade and don't go to Ridgefield School
Well, again,
District.
it's not
I don't
just,
know.
I mean, your urban growth boundary
Yeah.
does include multiple unincorporated urban areas, including the G Creek Plateau, as well as Carty Road sub-area.
Yeah.
So there are other areas where there might be kids that go to a private school, but the way that you have crafted in the past for the position on the Planning Commission is you simply, instead of saying live in the city limits of Ridgefield, you said live in the urban growth boundary of Ridgefield. That's how you capture those and give an opportunity if you so choose.
I would be in favor of amending it to include urban growth boundary.
Okay, Councilor Hamilton, we heard that. I'll let
I
you
agree.
speak.
I second.
Well, there's a second on the motion right now.
So there was a second
This is-
motion, but there was an amendment that was just.
Was that actual offer? Did you offer that as an amendment? I didn't hear that.
I'm fine offering it as an amendment. I did not offer it as an amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I would amend the motion to change the language from being in the Ridgefield city limits to being within the Ridgefield urban growth boundary.
I second.
Okay, and so we have to vote on the amendment first, and we'll come back to the motion. Okay. So any discussion on the amendment as offered? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. So the motion is now amended. We can come back to that. Do we have to restate the motion now with the amendment in there? No, we're good. Okay.
Thank you, Jesus.
Legally, you should. You know.
All you have to say is the motion as amended.
Okay. Okay, so the motion as amended is on the floor. Council, any other further discussion? Okay. Ms. Julie, would you please read the ordinance into the record?
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 1458, ordinance of the City of Ridgefield, Washington, to create a Ridgefield Youth Commission.
Great, thank you very much. And I think you have to call a roll on this one?
I do.
Okay, go ahead and call the roll.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Favela.
Yes.
Councilmember Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chipman,
Yes.
Mayor Cole.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you very much, council. A
And
little
Mayor and
clunky,
Council,
but we
I
got
just want
done.
to say, this is a great example of why Councilor Wells' suggestion of teaching Robert's rules is a really good idea for
Yes.
the kids.
We're going to go to back to school with the students, I think.
We need to learn it.
We will do that with them.
Goodness. Okay. Okay, but we got it done, so that's good. And we're going to move on to our second order of business tonight. This is going to be the first reading of ordinance number 1459. This is the adoption of a public safety sales tax, and I believe we have Mr. Johnson online.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Are you able to hear me?
We are, yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So before I get into the presentation, I just wanted to go over what we're talking about today. As we're in also the budget process, what we're talking about today is House Bill 2015, which gives the option of a new public safety sales tax. So it's a revenue option. We're not talking about the positions that it may or may not be able to fund. That will be coming up in the budget discussion next week at the study session on October 2nd. So we're really just focusing on first reading of what this is. We did have a study session last week, so I'll go over a little bit of what we talked about then, and then get any questions that you may have or any direction of changes you may want before second reading on October 9th. Any questions?
Council, any questions so far? I think you're good to go.
Okay, thank you. So House Bill 2015 set up, again, as we talked about last week, two different funding options, a grant program, which will be coming back to council at a later date once they have that designed. They're still working on that and getting information out to us. We've sent multiple questions to them, and they're working on providing answers out to everybody in the state here, hopefully soon. So the public safety sales tax is a councilmanic option through June of 2028. That means that a majority of council can adopt the 0.1% sales tax on sales and use. It is a permanent sales tax, so it does go in place and it does go past that June 2028 timeframe, unless there's further action at a later date to repeal the sales tax. It has broad use for public safety, so we can use it for some of the options we kind of discussed, and these are options. It's up to council how to use it, but we could fund new positions. We can fund increased public safety costs. We could fund increased cost through public defenders and the court system. Anything that's really related to criminal justice is what we can use that for. It is stackable with other taxes and jurisdictions. What that means is if other jurisdictions do pass sales tax and they have overlapping areas within the city of Ridgefield, it does stack on top of that. We do need to meet certain requirements of House Bill 2015 for the grant program. We do believe that we're very close, if not already meeting those requirements, and we are working with CJTC to make sure on that. They just started today to roll out some guidance on some of the policies, and we're looking at what we need to do to either get the policies approved internally or through CJTC to make sure that we do qualify as we feel we do. We don't have to apply for the grant award to adopt the sales tax, but in reverse to apply for the grant program, you do have to adopt a sales tax. We already do have a public safety sales tax that the city receives some funding from. It's one that the Clark County adopted a couple of years ago. So in that case, we actually are already eligible for that. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Again, it's councilmanic through June 30th of 2028. After that time frame, it would have to go to a vote of the general public in Ridgefield. Again, permanent and stackable, broad use, and the requirements. The only caveat is that we could not have had our jurisdiction's voters repeal or reject a public safety sales tax within the last 12 months, which we have not. And next slide, please. So the reason that we're bringing this to you at this point is there's a 75-day notification period to the Department of Revenue to enact the sales tax. If we wanted this to go into place January 1st of 2026, we would need to notify DOR by October 18th, which means that I would have to send the information to them by October 17th for them to process it by the next day. So first reading is today. We're bringing it back for second reading, the first meeting in October, which is on October 9th. That gives us plenty of time to be able to send the signed and adopted ordinance, if council chooses to do that, to Department of Revenue for that. So let's jump to the next couple of slides. The next two slides, I'm not going to go over each one of these. These are the items that Chief Doriot went over at our study session for different items that we do have to meet qualifications for both the grant and the sales tax. Again, we're working with CJTC to go ahead and verify that. So I just wanted to have those mainly for the public so that they can see what we do have to complete to make sure that we are qualifying for this program. So if we jump to slide 7. So these are just some reasons why that we would want to do this. And we talked about this last week again. Our judicial expenses have increased 23% over the past 2 years, which is $47,500. And our overall public safety expense has increased 20% over the past 2 years for $811,000. So the estimate for the new revenue source would be $442,000 in the first year if it was adopted and effective as of January 1st. For grant funding, they do have the program that provides the city to put in an application for new hire positions, and it does have to be a new hire. The grant funding will cover up to 75% of the initial personnel expense, and the city matches 25%. The sales tax provides the additional revenue to be able to meet the match and then ongoing requirements as well. We have also put in for a COPS grant at the federal level. We were supposed to find out anytime from September 1st on whether or not we are being awarded that program. We have not heard anything yet, and we have not heard whether it's delayed. And with the funding issues right now at the federal level, I don't expect that we're going to hear anytime soon whether or not they're awarding out those grants yet or not. One of the big pieces to putting this public safety sales tax as an available funding source for communities and also that grant program is because Washington State has the lowest officer count per 1,000 population in the nation at 1.38 officers. The city of Ridgefield is even below what the state of Washington's 1.38 is. We would need to employ 22 officers, and we currently have a staffing of 19, which includes the sergeants and the lieutenant and the chief. So that is a big reason why the legislature put this particular program in place. Now, I know there's questions about what would this do to our sales tax amount. Currently, this year, our sales tax is 8.7%. Vancouver is 8.8%. This would, if it was adopted, it would put us to match Vancouver. And all of the other cities within the county, with the exception of Washougal, are 8.6, and Washougal is 8.5. For the unincorporated part of Clark County, it's 7.8. So that's where we would stand if this was adopted just for the Ridgefield sales tax. Now, for next steps, again, we're submitting information to CJTC to verify eligibility. We're conducting the first reading tonight, so we're not asking for any action tonight. We're just asking for any questions that you may have or any information you want us to bring back at the second reading. And then second reading would occur on October 9th. And pending adoption, then we would submit the adopted ordinance to the Washington State Department of Revenue in time to meet that 75-day waiting period. With that, that's the end of the presentation. Do you have any questions for me?
Okay, Council. Questions for Mr. Johnson at this point. We'll start with Councilor Favela, and I'll look around.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Did I see that correctly on one of the slides that if we impose this sales tax, there are partners that we would be using in the application, but we would not be sharing that funding with other jurisdictions or partners? How does that work?
Well, one of the options for the funding is if you want to set up a program for, and I'm not sure really how to call it. I know Clark Cowlitz Fire and Rescue calls it the CARES program, but it's a ride-along to help get people off the street and keep, rather than going through the criminal justice part of it, trying to avoid that. So there is that possibility for us to set up our own through this program. We already work and have a working relationship with them, as well as most of the other agencies within Clark County. And I do believe they're already funded on that. Again, it's a council decision on how we use the funding, but that is one of the things that was mentioned in the very broad uses of the funding.
Great, thank you. Councilor Wells, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, yes, I did, Kurt. What did you say the potential revenue that it could generate for the year?
What I'm estimating right now for next year would be 442,000, and then each year we relook at it. Now, I'll add one caveat. There was information over the last couple of days that sales are down pretty significantly in Washington. So we'll have to look at that forecast again. The state's right now forecasting another $500 million drop in tax revenues, and that could affect all agencies within the state as well.
Okay, part two of my question. If, for the audience as consideration, if you bought something for $100, it would cost you another 10 cents?
Correct.
Correct?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's 0.1% for the sales tax.
So if you bought something for $100 with this new tax, it would cost you $100.10.
Right.
And the city will get $400 and some thousand to use for public safety from all the people that are coming in and out and pay sales tax. Costco pays sales tax, helping support our city.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I hadn't mentioned it. It's not borne on the backs of the city residents. It's everybody who shops within Ridgefield jurisdiction, and we also receive sales tax from that as well.
Well, I mean, that is borne on the backs of city residents, because we are shopping inside the city limits. And I guess that was going to be my question for you, Mr. Johnson, is there any data that shows the difference between where our sales tax revenues come from, either inside from residents or outside the city? Are we able to track that at all?
We don't have anything right now that can track that. We have worked with a company in the past that does have some metrics that we would have been able to look at, but the Department of Revenue does not track that at local stores.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. I'm just curious. Yeah. Councilor Davis.
Yeah, thank you. I guess, on that note, I mean, I feel like it's appropriate to, I don't take lightly, and I don't think any of us take lightly, the thought of raising taxes, even though we're talking about 10 cents for every $100 spent. However, I do believe that there's a nice, strong nexus between what this is funding and the source of it. And that it is going to be borne on through sales tax, so it's people both in and out, but it is a service that serves people both in and out, or they're at least in when they are spending time in Ridgefield and spending money in Ridgefield. So I am comfortable with that. This is more on the grant side. You talk about the reduction in revenues. As I've considered this, I've tried to separate this action as simply establishing the sales tax, like what we do with the money and those things. That is like a separate budget conversation, and the grant application's a separate conversation as well. But that money for the grants, even though if we're facing a $500 million shortfall next year, that funding is locked in for the next 3 years, correct?
Yes, that's been locked in through the next budget biennium, which is a 2-year budget. So we're in the first year of it, so it's locked in, through the next basically 2 years, including this one.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, if we decide to move forward with this with the intention of applying for the grants and getting, that funding to bring some new officers on, that, next year one of the solutions is maybe pulling the rug back a little bit, and then we're in a difficult financial pickle ourselves because we thought we were maybe going to be able to tap into some money that's no longer there. So generally, I'm generally in support of this. I guess the last point that I would make about it, and again, this goes back to more of a budget decision than just the simple creation of this, but I'm hoping to put it out there. I would like to see, this is introducing new money. This is raising taxes to create a bigger budget. And I think that if it's going to be done in the name of investing in public safety, it's 100% net growth in public safety spending. It doesn't get used to backfill, general fund funds that were then reallocated or anything like that. It needs to be growth of those programs, whether it's bringing on new officers, creating new programs, or whatever. So I just want to put that out there, that I think that is really important. If we're going to pass a sales tax increase that goes to public safety, it needs to grow public safety by 100% net.
Yeah,
Thanks.
agreed. Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Hamilton.
Thank you. So the business owner part of me is like, oh, one more thing, adding another tax. I do have that instant thing, but then, so I made a pros and cons, and I made an overall, what do I know here? And I think one of the main things we've talked about in budget and throughout with city staff and everyone is, it is very important to us to maintain a level of service. And as our community grows and as it continues to grow, we're only going to need more public safety options and availability to service our residents. And then, so I looked at some of our strategic council goals. So plan and manage the growth of the city, that hits that. Create and maintain economic stability for the city, that hits that. Assure the city's infrastructure, which of course can mean streets and sewers, but I think it also has to look at the team that builds the city and supports the city and the people that keep us safe and healthy. Actively engage and communicate with Ridgefield community. This feels like everyone contributing to the organism rather than expecting funds to come from here, there, everywhere. It puts a little skin in the game for me. So as a human being, that is very appealing, and I understand the need for this. I looked up some research, and because it's so new, there's not a lot of information out there about the success rate or things that jurisdictions have found with this, but I did see that it got favorable attention from legislators for its focus on accountability, equity, transparency, and community-based approaches. And I appreciate that it's not just increasing a head count, but it's looking at funding mental health crisis response, diversion, safer law enforcement practices, and the language is broad enough that we can tailor it within our city. So I think those are really important pieces of this that make me support this.
Great, thank you. Probably a clarifying question and then a statement. So, and I know we went over this last week. I just want to make sure I understand too. So the sales tax itself, so the grant can be used for a variety of public safety purposes, but the sales tax itself has to be used for personnel. Did I understand that right? Or is it
No, it's backwards. The grant has to be used for new hires, and the public safety sales tax is a very broad range of criminal justice related items.
Okay. Well, I guess either way. So just looking at the per capita, officer rate, like, what is it, 1.38, is that what you said, per 1,000 residents?
In
Officers per
Washington,
1,000.
yes.
Yeah.
And we're below that.
Yeah, and since we're below that, I guess my stipulation to this would be that we prioritize, even with the sales tax, we would prioritize it to hiring new officers before we do anything else with it. So as long as we fulfill that need, and then we can staff up accordingly to get where we need to be, I'm in favor of it, because I think that is what Councilor Davis, you were talking about, the net gain there, before we start, applying programs, equipment, anything else to it. So but the priorities of funding to me are personnel first, and then things beyond that. So, okay. Any other questions or comments, council? Discussion to be had. Councilor Hamilton.
I think I agree with what you just said. I would add, I think it's very important for training to be a part of that personnel perspective. I think making sure officers and mental health and all of that is a really big focus of this would make me feel like we were supporting the community in the way that was the best for it.
Right. I'd agree with that. Okay. I'm looking around for anything else. Okay. If there's nothing else, then Miss Julie, would you please read the ordinance into the record?
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 1459, ordinance of the City of Ridgefield, Washington, enacting an additional sales and use tax of 0.1% as authorized in Section 201, Chapter 350, Laws of Washington 2025 for criminal justice purposes, adding a Chapter 3.12, criminal justice sales and use tax to the Ridgefield Municipal Code, and providing for the severability and establishing the effective date.
Great, thank you. And this is first reading only, and it'll come back to us on October 9th. Thank you, council, and thank you, staff. Okay, our next item of business tonight is a motion for approval of the Quail Ridge final plat. Ms. Les, we'll go to you.
Thank you, Mayor. So this evening, have for council to review and take action on the Quail Ridge final plat. Wait for the slide here. All right, as you can see on the slide, it is in the southeast corner of the G Creek Plateau area, right adjacent to the Clover Hill development neighborhoods to the east. So the, next slide, please. Proposal, and this is in your packet in full size as well, is a 41 lot subdivision. The original property is in two pieces, and the property owner is retaining piece one, which is the southern part. That's about 6.5 acres with their own home on it. And then the northern part is being subdivided into those 41 single-family residential lots. The new lots range from around 7,500 square feet to around 14,300 square feet, with the average lot area being approximately 9,400 square feet. As far as other features of the subdivision, notably there are open landscaping tracks along South 15th Street to the north. Track D in the southwest is a 54,000 square foot park and open space tract. It is largely comprised of steep slopes down to critical areas, but on the sort of upper rim there, accessible from the street, there is a short trail to a bench and wildlife viewing area that has been installed. Tract E is a stormwater treatment and detention facility serving the subdivision. All right, as usual, I'll note that the final plat has gone through survey, engineering, and land use review. Very minimal outstanding comments here. Survey review was complete and approved. Engineering construction acceptance was actually signed off today, which means that all the engineering improvements have been completed and accepted. So unlike some of the other final plots we have discussed, there's no performance bonding involved with this one. Land use review, standard comments about the CCNRs having been reviewed and approved by the city attorney. So those will need to be recorded with this final plat. And then there is a required conservation covenant for the open space parcel that is going to be recorded with the plat as well that staff has reviewed. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it back to you, Mayor, for any questions or comments from council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lust. Okay, council on this one, I'll open up for discussion at this point. We'll start with Councilor Davis.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I mean, this looks, I think it's a really pretty property. It's on a nice slope. And I enjoyed kind of looking at the open space, and it's going to be providing a lot of great opportunity for, just kind of doing some nature watching and stuff like that. It is going to have some actual park facilities though, right?
Minimal, but yes,
Okay.
like seating area.
Like more of a seating area?
Seating, yeah. It's billed as it's a short trail, yeah, to that area.
Trail and stuff. I know that it's different than the ones I'm going to reference, but I look back to, like the arrangement for park maintenance that we did with Paradise Point, where the HOA paid the city an amount to do the maintenance, whereas I see in this agreement that it will be owned and maintained by the HOA. Did we walk down the path of a similar arrangement to Paradise Point, or is that not necessarily really an appropriate one for this type of park and open space?
So for this one, it's to be owned and maintained by the HOA, and that's largely based on the size of the actual parcel that is open space for the community. The majority of that southern area is actually still just owned by the property owner who's living there.
Okay.
And I believe the threshold to consider, city partnership or full ownership is 2 acres, and this is less than that. It's just over an acre.
Okay. So maybe that's a policy we entertain somewhere else. I was just curious if that was something that we had looked at for this. So that answers my question. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilor Wells?
The only question I have, what was the total acreage of this parcel?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
No, that's the park.
So the total acreage of the whole highlighted area looks like about 20.
What, I didn't hear that.
About 20 acres.
20 acres?
Yeah, and about
Okay.
6.5 of that is that, we'll call it the kind of parent remainder parcel with the existing home on it.
Okay. That answers my question.
Great. Other comments or questions at this point? Just out of curiosity, I know this is like where this is at. It kind of slopes down. Are there any lots with like extra steep slopes like we see in the Heights area?
I asked that question.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. I was just curious if there's any lots in this development, this phase, that have any very steep slope lots, that like we see in the Heights.
I would have to look at a grading plan to answer that question.
Okay.
And to clarify on the last question, I apologize, I thought you were talking about the whole area. If you're just talking about the area that's being developed, that's about 12.5 acres.
For phase,
For the area with the new lots.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
12 and a half.
I thought it was 14.
Okay. Anything else? Any other discussion, council? Okay, if there's no other discussion, I would entertain a motion.
Approve this.
I move to approve the Quail Ridge final plat as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to approve the Quail Ridge final plat as presented. Council, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you, council. We will move on to our next and final order of business tonight. Item, removing construction speed limit for South Royal Road. Mr. Stewart, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council and the community. This item is before you as a follow-up to an action that occurred earlier this year when the council considered changes to speed limits throughout the city. One of the speed limits that was adjusted was a temporary construction speed limit for South Royal Road. That was during the final phase, the final pieces of the construction on Royal Road earlier this year and last year and the year before that. The temporary construction speed was 30 miles per hour. Since that time, construction has ceased on South Royal Road, and a question was raised as to whether it was still appropriate to include a construction zone speed limit of 30 miles per hour in the section of Royal Road that is what we call the dip on the southern section as you're headed southbound, and then just before you head up the hill to the high school at the light, at the signal there. The analysis was done as we do with any speed limit question. We have a series of questions that we ask, and the city engineer works with law enforcement and with myself to go through a checklist that first looks at the existing situation. What are the existing conditions? What is the cross section for the roadway? What are the other things that are occurring? We look at speed data. If there is speed data that is available from the speed trailer already, we look at that. If not, we place the speed trailer in the area to get information about what the actual speeds are, because a lot of times the information we get is anecdotal. So we want to make sure that we actually have good information. Once the information is gathered, the city engineer and the police chief and myself wrap back around to look at that information to determine whether targeted enforcement, safety improvements, or speed are the pathways that would most effectively deal with the circumstances. In this circumstance, the speed data indicated that the average speed in that area of South Royal Road is approximately 35 miles per hour. The 85th percentile is almost 40 miles per hour. So we generally try to keep our speed limits at around between average and that 85th percentile. The rest of the corridor is at 35 miles per hour. There is no other construction speed limit. So it was determined that the best course of action was to bring back to you an action to restore the 35 mile per hour limit in that section of South Royal Road to be consistent with the rest of that corridor and to meet the issues of safety and speed that we have seen. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions, council? This is pretty straightforward, I think. Yeah? Okay. If there's no questions, I would just go ahead and suggest we just move ahead with this and entertain a motion just to power through this one.
I would like to make a motion that we move the speed back to 35 miles per hour on Royal Road South.
Okay,
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move the speed at South Royal Road to 35 miles per hour and remove the temporary construction speed limit, I guess. So, any discussion, council? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you, council.
All right. And then we do have a public hearing tonight. This is a public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 1460. This is a 2025 Commercial Development Code amendments. And Ms. Les, we'll go back over to you, ma'am.
Thank you again, Mayor. So yeah, this is a first part of a couple rounds of code updates I'll be bringing before council this fall. These should look familiar from a meeting earlier this summer where we went through a sort of topic list of code amendments and council thumbs up most of them to go forward. So for the first round, I've split out the topics that relate to the Commercial Development Code. So just as a guide, I suppose, I'll go through the topic list first in your packet. That starts on page 47. The full text amendments are after that. They're there for us if we need them, but I'll just be going through the topic list and asking for any feedback or comment sort of line by line on that. And then council will, I'll request council hold a public hearing, but no action is being requested this evening. This will come back to you. So with that, we can go ahead and get started. Again, page 47 of your packet is the list of topics, and they're all relating to commercial development. So starting at the top here, the first one is an amendment to a definition of office. Currently, the definition places limitations on the percent of space that can be used for storage in an office use, and that contradicts with our definition of an accessory use, which is not just limited to percentage. It can be, the magnitude and other ways of the use. Like if it's like a office headquarters that doesn't necessarily take up more space than like the storage needed to support that, but is still clearly the primary use. So that's really a cleanup to make the definition of office jive with the definition of primary and accessory uses. Mayor, I don't know if you would prefer to just pause at each of these or...
I'll look around. Council,
Okay.
do you have a preference? Would you like to talk about each one of these, or would you rather kind of go through them because we've discussed these in briefings and we did a presentation earlier this summer?
Yeah, let's just go through them.
We'll just go through them.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you can see on the third column here, we did take this to Planning Commission in September, and they had comments on about 5 topics in here, so I'll note that as well and maybe look for a pause on those, but the other ones definitely heard. We'll just go through. So the next item is to expand the downtown traffic impact fee reduction and exemption program, which exists, to the commercial neighborhood business zone. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you define what the commercial neighborhood business zone is?
Yeah, so that zone is in a few areas around town, including on Hillhurst and Sevier Road, and then over on the far east side of the city, I'll just give a landmark over there is Gouget Winery, that intersection. So it is the smallest scale of our 3 commercial zones, and it is in areas basically next to neighborhoods and targets businesses that serve those neighborhoods in kind of a walking distance model, I would say.
And is that something that is like, are more opportunities for zones applicable in the future? Is that sort of set in stone? Like, what defines that as is that staying as is, or will that expand in the future?
Where that zoning is?
Commercial neighborhood business zone.
Yeah, so that, that is something council could potentially address through the comprehensive plan update if you wish, or if individual property owners were to apply for a zone change, for example. That would come through council as well.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on. The next item relates to several districts, including neighborhood commercial, but also central mixed use, waterfront mixed use, and the mixed use overlay. It is to define and then prohibit smoke shops as primary use in those zones. And those are the zones where we see the most integration between residential and commercial uses.
I'll just go ahead and ask a question here, just make sure for the edification of everyone. So up at the junction, that would not apply. So a business of that sort could still be at, say, Union Ridge Town Center or something, but just not like downtown or some of these other areas that we've defined here, right?
You are correct.
And then what do we mean by vape products? Like, so like no vape products whatsoever can be sold in those areas?
No, so this would be the prohibition would be on stores where that is their main use.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So a
as
convenience
the
store that
intent-
might sell like a vape product could still sell that vape product there.
Yeah, for example, like a mini mart.
Sure.
Or that type of store that does sell those products, but it is not the primary use, was the intent of this as written.
Gotcha. Okay. We can keep going.
Okay.
Well, I guess Councilor Davis does have a question.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just curious, how is that audited somehow, or is it part of like their business application piece where they define what their mix is? I mean, I guess I'm curious, could a business in theory say, we sell 60% of the, non-vape or smoke stuff and 40%, and it's, then authorized, but is there any sort of audit mechanism to determine whether that's the reality?
Yeah, so on the front end, we would review it when a business comes in for a business license, and that is certainly something where we might be asking follow-up questions of the applicant. On the farther down the road, when that business is up and running, if they have misrepresented what they're doing and are doing something that does not meet code, then that's a code violation subject to enforcement.
Okay.
And to be clear, this applies to new businesses, not businesses who might be in town and are already vested.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Certainly.
Okay. Now we can keep moving. I think, yes, we're good.
Okay. The next one is something that came directly from Planning Commission, so this wasn't on the list when you reviewed it earlier this summer, but they recommended it be added in, is to add a requirement for commercial centers to be designed such that delivery vehicles do not impede drive aisles or required parking. Great. The next couple items also have to do with site design in commercial centers. So when I say commercial centers, think Union Ridge Town Center, Discovery Ridge, Pioneer Village, these multi-business, multi-tenant, kind of internal circulation commercial centers. So right now our code, for purposes of development, defines local streets and collectors as pedestrian streets, and then arterials as major corridors, and those two different designations have different design standards. Generally, the design standards for development along pedestrian streets is written to be more oriented towards pedestrians, people accessing the site by walking, and we've really found some challenges in the implementation of that. So step one of attempting to address that is redefining collectors from a pedestrian street to a major corridor. Since collectors are a higher volume street, people are generally traveling by vehicle on them. And then the next item is related, so I'll just roll into it if that's okay. Is currently there is a requirement for buildings and/or common open space to occupy 80% of a site street frontage along pedestrian streets and 50% of a site street frontage along major corridors. And the goal of this next item is to create flexibility around that requirement in certain situations, including in master plan commercial centers where there's a lot of internal circulation. Buildings tend to face inwards rather than outwards. Where there are safety considerations associated with the end user that would prevent that site design from being practical. An example is, for instance, a daycare that has a play area that needs to be away from cars. And then in other situations where the applicant, it is up to the applicant to demonstrate that there are existing or built conditions that justify departure from strict adherence to that standard. And as proposed, a trade-off for that relaxing of that standard would be to basically make up for it with enhanced landscaping between the use and the street.
Okay, I think we're good. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. The next one is sort of at the nexus of site and building design in these commercial centers. It is to modify the requirement for buildings along pedestrian streets, which, if this is adopted, would be local streets only, no longer collectors, to have a primary entrance facing the street, providing primary access to the site. And instead, apply the existing requirement for buildings along major corridors to everywhere, which would be to encourage a primary entrance facing the street, but allow the primary entrance to face a parking area or secondary access street with some enhanced features along that side of the building that's now backing the street.
I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Moving out of our pedestrian major corridor paradigm for a moment, the next item is to require adequate queuing spaces before ordering stations in drive-throughs. So in other words, make it not allowed for the place where you stop and order to be like right by the parking lot, so people back up into the parking lot. Require it to be like midstream.
I'm hugely in favor of that.
We
Thank you. Yes,
all know
okay.
what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, right?
Yeah. Not naming names, but
All right, the next item, roofs. Right now, our code has some language in it that technically prohibits flat stories on single-story buildings. As you can see, we have found ways around that in implementation, but just to clean it up, the proposal is to make it very clear in the code that flat roofs with a cornice along the top to add visual interest are permitted on single-story buildings.
that's good.
All right.
Okay.
The next one came directly from public comment during a council meeting about a year ago, I think, which is to encourage the use of bird-friendly glass on windows and doors. This is glass that birds can see and don't think is air.
I like that. Just a quick question. Like when we say encourage, it's a very soft way of saying that. I mean, like, but what is the teeth on that one? There's no like real enforcement if it's just encouraging.
It is soft. I think in looking at this, like cost considerations were a question for enforce versus
Sure.
require. I think certainly there are places in the site design and building design code where we say, you know, you can do X, Y, Z if you provide a certain number of other features, and that could, if this is in the code, we could then kind of lean to that as like, okay, that's a feature you could add to your building for
I'm good with it.
bonus
Yeah.
points, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on that one, Councilor Wells, on this one?
Just going to make a comment. This is only for downtown, but I know that Par Lumber put one in after they had somebody back a car through their front door, and it is on the outside, but it's not in the downtown area. It's out in the business part of our city. I'm just making a comment.
Yeah.
Great. Bird and car-friendly glass, I suppose that would be. Thank you, Councilor Wells. So the next item also relates to windows. We have transparency requirements for new commercial buildings. A certain percent of prominent facades has to be comprised of windows and doors to add visual interest both from the outside to the building and then kind of eyes on the street from the building out. And the proposal here is, again, to create some opportunities for flexibility in situations where the end inside user has higher demands for privacy. I'm thinking particularly like medical clinics. We're seeing cases pop up where to meet the needs of the end user, the numbers we currently have in our code just aren't practical, and we don't really have any tools for flexibility there. So again, this would put the onus still on the applicant to prove that they're meeting the existing standard to the extent possible, but would create a situation where they can make an argument to staff that they need flexibility, and then we'd be able to grant that. Planning Commission did recommend that we specify in code that glazed windows allowing people to see out of the building but not in may be used to meet the transparency requirements when that inside use requires privacy. Okay.
Okay.
All right, moving on to our next page here. This is one that garnered a lot of discussion at Planning Commission. Has to do with the color of the building. The proposal is to prohibit white as a base building color, and Planning Commission had a really good conversation and some recommendations kind of focus on the shall rather than the shall not. So rather than prohibiting white, perhaps focus on complementary colors within buildings in a development. So maybe some discussion on that.
Oh, here we go. Okay. We'll start with Councilor Hamilton. Councilor Hamilton, we'll work our way over.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So complementary colors, do we have like a color wheel that we're working within? Is there more regulation on
I don't
the color?
think we're using like the dictionary definition of like red
Complementary.
and green being complementary colors. No, but not to be glib there. But this is a term we do have in our existing building design and development code. But I think that could be clarified that applies to colors. We do talk a lot about existing like building materials. Complementary building materials in the existing code. It's basically used to mean those that sort of fall within a theme. And in these commercial centers, we do require at the land use phase, we know there aren't going to be exact plans for every building yet, but to get like a materials list basically that says this is our material and color theme for this center. And then as individual buildings come in, they have to show that they're sort of within that pond of options.
Yeah, my thought process being, if we're going to ban white, right? If we have a thought against white, but then someone could have a complementary of a red or a green or a blue. More streamlined vision of like if we want things to look complementary, what that falls within. Does that make sense?
Yes, so the existing code language, and I can dig through here in a moment and find the exact packet page, but does require the base color of the building to be earth tones. And it lists some examples like clay, brick, sage, that kind of thing, beige.
Okay, thank you.
Since we're moving left to right, Councilor Wells, anything? Nope. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Favela.
I agree that white should be eliminated. White is not in that neutral color palette, and it stands out. Not in a good way. It just kind of is like, oh, that's there, and it doesn't mesh well with the rest. So, yeah, I think we shall not use white as the base color.
Okay. Councilor Davis.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious because like probably everybody else, I've been in paint stores and like it's usually not just called white, it's called like snowdrift or whatever. Is from a legal perspective, could somebody say, oh well, no, it's not white, it's cotton or whatever it is?
Polar
Yeah.
bear
I mean,
quote.
like, would that hold legal weight?
That can of worms has been opened before.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what you
Marshmallow,
you
yeah.
see. Buildings that have been built that are white. Their argument is that they've met this code because it's a sand dollar.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, does
So that is a tricky. To your point, I think that is. We would have some work to do on sort of defining that boundary.
Yeah.
That said, we do have precedent that we can lean on. A lot of the work that was done with In and Out, their traditional color is bone white.
Yeah.
That is their traditional base color, and staff worked very closely with In and Out over a long series of months to come up with earth tones that were a little darker than bone white. So if you look at the In and Out in Ridgefield, it is not white as a base color. So that's something we can look into as kind of a template to use if that's something that you're interested in.
We did the same with IQ Credit Union as well. Got them from white and red to off-white and brick-ish.
Yeah. I mean, I like the complimentary piece, and like I don't make those decisions in my house about paint colors or anything like that, so I have limited insight, but I do know about the names, and I just you get curious. I would definitely also yield to Councilor Hamilton's experience with the color wheel to understand complementary colors. That is also not my strong suit. So I mean, I definitely want to I don't know, that's a tricky one for me, to be honest with you. Like I want there to be some like guardrails that make it so somebody can't just paint something ridiculous and not have any way to do things. But, I also want there to be enough room for there to be some character as well, if it needs it. I mean, I don't have a strong opinion about white, and if the majority feels that like white is not great, then I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure that whatever policy you write holds water too. All right, that's what I got. I know
Okay.
Mayor's just itching over here.
Yeah, I just, I see this. I'm a little curious to start with this line that says it's a response to complaints about the lightest colored buildings in Pioneer Village. I'd like a little more context there. Like, how wide are the complaints? Like, where is that coming from? And what specifically are the complaints about, say, the whites in Pioneer Village? And I say that because the style of Pioneer Village, which you see there and which you see in other places, is, I think, it's a very specific style. Like, kind of like, I guess I'd call it sort of like that farmhouse style. And so I'm just kind of wondering, like, what the basis of the complaints are and why we have a problem with it all of a sudden.
Originally heard it from Planning Commission.
So the complaints came from Planning Commission?
And residents, and we've had residents actually speak to it. We've had city councilors speak to it. We've had other business owners speak to it. It's come from other areas, and what we generally hear is that it is only white. That is, that the farmhouse style, the urban village that was created for Pioneer Village, that row of kind of farm buildings, when it is a single color, especially it being white, that it does not draw visual interest, and it actually does not meet the intent of the standards. So that is what we've heard from a variety of sources, which is why it's here.
So if you have, say, a historic building downtown and it is maybe white, I mean, are we going to say in the future you could not paint that building white? You'd have to paint it another color?
This is for commercial districts, correct? We're talking about commercial buildings in a
Yeah.
commercial
Correct.
district. We're not talking about the neighborhood refuge, cute little
yeah.
place downtown, correct?
It is
Correct.
commercial, yeah.
Excuse me, correct.
Well,
But-
you can't paint a
I-
church or anything.
but I'm-
I can answer the question if you'd like.
Thank you. Yes,
The code that this is in applies to the commercial neighborhood business, commercial community business, and commercial regional business zones. So that does not apply to central mixed use, which is downtown, or waterfront mixed use, which would be the future waterfront.
Yeah, I guess, one of the things I really like that we have is we have some very specific design standards here in Ridgefield, and it's really preserved like the appearance of our city. And I just really like that because we don't have, our city is not ugly. Like the design, the new development, it all looks great. Even downtown looks great. But I also have reservations about a local government based on our preferences, our personal preferences, saying that, we don't like white, so we're going to ban white,
Right.
Because I think we need to still allow flexibility. And I don't want to just take the stance of local government knows best, what's best for your design standards. I want to have some design standards that kind of bolster the look of our town, but I don't want to be so restrictive that we couldn't, white's a pretty broad color and, and pretty wide use. And so I have a hard time with this one, that's all. So, yeah. Another comment?
Just in response to that, would that be more of the planning commission's comment where we say shall not, instead of prohibiting white? So white can still exist, but it needs to have another color with it. So it can't just be white. I think that's the language.
Yeah, and I guess what I'd say to that is like who are we to say? Because we don't, like, I'm not an interior designer or exterior designer, and I don't know all of the uses of that. I know that we went through that with In-N-Out, and I think we got to a good spot. We've gotten to a good spot with what we ended up with. Rosars is kind of like the model of like what our design standards are. And I think we're in a good spot there, but I just don't want to be so prohibitive as, again, white being a very broad color. I don't think it's our place to do that. So that's my thought.
I like what
I've got it.
planning commission said,
Councilor
too.
Wells.
It's okay. And it's on the white. That you could have bone, and there's bone white. If they leave the white off, then it's just bone. Or Summit on car colors, there's Summit white, there's Pearl white. They've all got whites, So that's the paint colors on cars. So just leave white off, and it's Pearl, and it's Summit,
Yeah.
and it's bone.
Right. That's what we were saying earlier.
Yeah.
The other thing too is like, we say neutral colors or earth tones, and I think that can very much be construed as a trend as well. I remember in the 90s, teal color cars were very much on trend. You don't see a lot of teal color cars. We could have mandated it back then, but like you look at what the trends are too. Is there going to be a point where maybe brighter colors are more on trend and we want our city to look like that? So again, white is to me a very broad color, so I'm hesitant on that one. So other questions or comments before we move on? Okay, we can move on with that one.
Okay, hearing similar sentiment to what this planning commission ultimately came around to as well. Some. All right, so moving on to the last two items here. The next one is to prohibit security bars on windows and roll-up security doors in the central mixed-use zone.
Council? Not the same as white, so I guess the crickets on that one. Yeah.
All right, and the last item is to encourage required electric vehicle compatible parking spaces to be clustered when they're in commercial complexes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like that one. Are there any, okay, good. Okay, that's all of
I
them.
got a question.
Yes, sir. Councilor
I
Wells.
got one to throw in there on that. EVs and clusters, what about EVs for ADA parking? They have to be clustered? So then the person has to walk a half a block to turn around to get to the store that they want to get to?
So as written, the language is encourage clustering. So that does leave an out for EVs for ADA parking to be located individually at buildings, but then to also have that bank of EV spots kind of serviced by one area.
I like the word encourage. That's great.
We're going to put a timer on it.
Oh, we'll go to Councilor Davis on that one too. You have something?
Yeah, on that clustering piece, I think about Pioneer Village, and I mean, I like the thought of it, but I also think, are we just eliminating there being just like one EV spot, or are we saying all of them within a development have to be in one spot? Because I would think there could be an argument for even something the size of Pioneer Village. Maybe you have, 2 or 3 EV spots on one side of that development and 2 or 3 on the other side. And I don't have a problem with that because, there's a lot of businesses between there. Do I want it to be just like one here, one there? No, but I don't necessarily want there to be code that requires all of them to be clustered. I would be okay with smaller clusters within a bigger development.
But the wording says encourage, it doesn't say require.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, just says encourage.
Okay.
clustering. Yeah.
Okay. That's good clarification.
I've
Thanks.
got another example, and that's Southwest Medical Center in town, and they've got all the EVs in a cluster, a long cluster. They've got behind them, they've got the handicapped, but you go there in the evening, handicaps are all full, and the EVs, half of them are empty, like 5 or 6, even daytime. And that is a cluster. But I think we've had the discussion here that you can park in an EV parking spot and not be an EV vehicle and not get a ticket. The chief might make a comment on that. I could get.
Counselor, I know that you brought that question to the PD, and I think the answer was yes, that we would not ticket for that. I don't know if that's the general. I would have to do some research on that and get back to you.
Thank you.
Good, okay. Any other questions on this one? All right, we got through it. Yeah. Okay, anything else from staff on this?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So this is a public hearing. So I'm going to open the public hearing to receive testimony. This public hearing, if you sign up with the city clerk before the meeting, your name will be called and you will be receiving permission to unmute your microphone or step up to the podium. If you did not sign up in advance but would like to speak, please use the raise hand feature on your toolbar. If you're joining by the phone, press *9 to raise your hand and press *6 to mute or unmute, and the city clerk will grant you permission to speak. And when speaking, please state your name, keep your comments to 3 minutes, and there will be no back and forth between with the city council. This public hearing is now open. Miss Julie, do we have anybody signed up on the list?
We do not.
Okay. Is there anybody in the building tonight? Yes, Mr. Raxack.
Hello, Council, City staff. My name is Justin Razak. I live off Hillhurst, just near the schools. It's a place that I've loved living since I accidentally drove through Ridgefield about 3 years ago. It's a place I've loved living so much that I'm putting down deeper roots and opening up restaurants in the neighborhood, hopefully by later this year. I'm here tonight to voice strong support for the amendment, the development code, to expand the opportunity for traffic impact fee relief to businesses in the commercial neighborhood commercial zones. Should know our zone. I am in the seemingly very large group of people who love Ridgefield for its character. And while I think the character of the town is certainly driven by its people, it is also driven by the businesses that are in town. I think small businesses, this is especially true. I think they are what set town apart from being just another suburb USA. But it's a tough time for small businesses right now. In my world, rising food costs and trade turbulence are eating away at my finances before we've even opened the doors. My food equipment costs have gone up $50,000, courtesy of steel tariffs. Construction costs are ballooning by the day. Feels like each nail is more expensive than the one before it. Most of these issues are not unique to Ridgefield, but a few are. It is about 10 times more expensive to hook into the sewer system in Ridgefield than it is in Vancouver, which is not a cost the city controls directly, but nevertheless, that is a hurdle that we face. It's about $1,000 a seat for a restaurant to connect, so for me, that's about $40,000 just to hook the pipes together for the sewer. Traffic impact fees are just part of the list of growing economic challenges. So it is a struggle right now for small business, and we need all the support that we can get. Fostering a thriving small business community is a very active endeavor. Economic headwinds are strong right now. The resource imbalance relative to large corporations makes it especially challenging to get off the ground. There is a small army of large corporates now between the highway and where we are situated in our neighborhood. So I, for one, am deeply appreciative that the city is focusing on these issues that impact small businesses, both as a small business owner, but also as a resident who appreciates the value that small businesses bring to the character of the community. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else in the room tonight wishing to give public comment? Come on up, sir.
Good evening. My name is Tucker Johnson. I just have a recommendation regarding the whole white issue. You could make instead of calling by names, you could do a RGB spectrum elimination to simplify things. Just say if it's within this range, it's not allowed. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else here tonight in the room? Miss Julie, anybody online?
Not seeing no one online.
Okay. If we have nobody else wishing to make comment during public hearing, I'm going to close the public hearing. And Miss Julie, would you please read the ordinance into the record?
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 1460, ordinance of the City of Ridgefield, Washington, amending chapters within Title 18 of the Ridgefield Municipal Code.
Great, thank you very much. And this will come back October 9th, is that correct, staff?
It'll probably be the second meeting in
Okay.
October.
Great, thank you. Sounds good. All right, we're going to move on to our second public comment portion of the evening. Anyone wishing to address City Council regarding items not subject to a specific public hearing may come forward at this time to the podium or use the raise hand feature located at the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. For controls over the phone, press star 9 for the raise hand and press star 6 to mute or unmute. Please state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anybody wishing to give general public comment tonight in the room? Ms. Julie, anybody online?
Not seeing no one
Seeing
online.
none, we will close public comment. We will move on to council and staff reports. Council, since we've gone a little bit long tonight, I'm going to ask if we, as you go through your reports, to do the one thing, the big thing that you wanted to talk about tonight. And we'll start at the far end with Councilor Davis, and we'll move our way over.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor. My one shout out is to staff for the facilitation of the growth plan open house. I was able to kind of do a nice walkthrough literally just for a few minutes, and it was really well attended. I thought that the materials that were provided were very useful. I like the interaction with the Post-it notes, and so I thought that was a great opportunity for people to chime in, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the insight gathered is. But good job. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
I have one event and then one update as well. So I attended the Washington State Partnership Council on Juvenile Justice. This is a really important topic to me. This was a panel presentation and discussion on Washington State's approach to juvenile sentencing for youth and how we compare to other states, the long-term impacts on incarceration for young people, and as well as exploring effective sentencing alternatives. It was a timely conversation because Washington kind of is grappling right now with sentencing formation or reformation for adults and children alike. And then I would like to update that as of October 1st, our CARES program will be operating 24 hours a day, which is great news. That's all I got.
Great, thanks, Counselor. Counselor Wells.
I attended 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 meetings since the last meeting. I don't know, the most important one, Clark Regional Wastewater. I went to Clark Regional Wastewater. I was a half an hour early and ended up 1 minute on time. Figure that one out. I went on 78th Street to the meeting, and the meeting was held at the treatment plant down at Salmon Creek. And I'm never a half hour early to a meeting, almost never. But I did make it to the other one on time. But there was approximately 40 to 45 people there. Department of Ecology was there, and they did have a cake, which was signifying the end of phase 5 on the treatment plant, and they will be moving to phase 6, and it's going to take 8 to 10 years to get to that. So it was a milestone there. Department of Ecology, 3 of them were there. The engineers were there. It was a big, big meeting, and so that was a milestone that they passed.
Great, thank you, Counselor. Counselor Hamilton.
Thank you. I just quickly want to say I've had a lot of great meetings this week with existing business owners, future business owners, and I'm really excited to continue to participate in that conversation, offer what I can. It really is food for my soul as a business owner to get to talk to other business owners and figure out how I can help. And that's just what I've been doing a lot of lately. And I'm really excited to get started on Youth Commission stuff. So if any way we want to coordinate that kind of stuff with one another, I really look forward to working with everyone up here.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your update. Mayor Pro Tem.
So my most important one was this morning at the Columbia River Economic Development Council meeting. They lost the CEO a couple months ago, so Eric Holmes, who is the former city manager for the city of Vancouver, has moved in as the temporary CEO managing that organization. And they did say they have 18 new projects on pace, trying to move them into Clark County, mostly semiconductor type of projects, computer, electronic kind of thing. And just talked about some of the other things that there was a gentleman online that was talking about a new type of energy creation called fusion. And I mean, being from Bonneville Power, I'd never heard of anything like it. But anyway, it was a very amazing 5-minute discussion that he had, and I'm going to spend some time looking it up. But it was quite amazing the way that he was describing it. But anyway, it was a very interesting meeting.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. For my one thing, it's been a policy-heavy evening, so I'll go a little bit more heart and on it tonight. I had the privilege yesterday to speak at an event for an organization called Cloth and Foster. Cloth and Foster is a relatively new organization in Clark County, born out of the foster care, foster parent system. It was a couple of people I know who started an organization a couple years back that provide resources, food, clothing, school supplies, diapers, all those types of things to foster families. This is an important cause to me. You know, I don't think a lot of people know this, but my parents, and I grew up, like probably for most of my youth, my parents did foster care, and they did it for 30 years. And I got to be a firsthand witness to, they did all kinds of kids, and they had dozens and dozens of kids go through our home growing up and then on through, you know, adulthood and everything. And through that, my parents actually adopted 8 children out of that. So I have 8 brothers and sisters that I have acquired as a result of that, and I'm just super blessed. And so I got the chance to be the keynote speaker yesterday. This wasn't something I did in the official mayor capacity, but it's just something I did just because I care. And it was good to see. In Clark County, there's almost 1,000 kids who are in the foster care system. And so foster parents don't always have all the support they need. I knew this growing up, where we didn't always have all the resources we needed. And my mom actually started like this de facto sort of grassroots network of other parents and families where they would share resources. And I told the story sometimes that we'd get boxes and boxes of these grandma's cookies, and we'd get those to have growing up. And sometimes it just means we got Cheerios for months. So like depending on things, but like just the heart behind that, and this organization stepping up to kind of fill the gap and supply foster kids, you know, even through a Christmas drive and everything like that. It's just a really, really impactful organization, and I'm proud to be affiliated with it and help support them. And of course, it's Give More 24 week, and so they're doing a big fundraising drive, and there's them as well as a number of other nonprofits that are seeking support this week. And so if you're inclined to give, like, you can go check that out. Check them out, Cloth and Foster, and you know, Give More 24 I think is another great organization. So that's my update for the week.
One thing to add.
That's going to be your third thing to add.
I know, one
Yeah.
more thing. We are in desperate need of foster homes in Clark County, Skamania County, and Southwest Washington, including respite homes that provide short-term respite for those long-term foster homes. So if you or anyone in the community know, you can reach out to your local Division of Youth Services to get in contact with a foster care liaison to help facilitate that. It would be incredible opportunity for you and these young people in the community.
Great, thank you, Counselor. Okay, that's it from Council. So City Manager, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council and the community. I will do a brief update of mine, and then I do want to make sure that I do an update for Mr. Thamert and Ms. Lang, who are not here this evening. For myself and the update, you had a great discussion about the public safety sales tax as well as the commercial code amendments. I will be speaking at the Chamber of Commerce's community meeting on the 30th next week at their luncheon. I'll be actually sharing the information that was presented to you this evening to be able to get feedback from our business committee on that, and I'll make sure I get that to you on what they are saying at that meeting. For Mr. Thamer and Ms. Lang, just a quick update on Pioneer Widening Project. Lots of work, obviously, going on over the past 3 days, 2 days and an overnight. I actually have the traffic cameras up right now, as I do most times, and traffic is flowing nicely and neatly. For the next few days, 53rd will be closed, but local access is available to the businesses that are contained within that. We now move into the center and striping portion of the program the next month until the end of October, and the final throes of the project will be spent on a lot of work in the median and on the shoulders, which is why it still is one lane each direction, because there's work zones where we need to make sure that they have safe work areas on either the side or in the median. So lots of work going on, but a really good week of work on the widening project to get us closer to finish. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Council, any questions for the City Manager? All right, we're good to go. And we will go to Ms. Lust.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just make a note to follow up on Councilor Davis's comments on the comp plan open house. It was great. We had about 45 people come in over, the 90 minutes we were holding the meeting, which is a pretty good number, and people really stayed, stuck around, participated, which is awesome. And for anyone listening in who wasn't able to attend on Tuesday but would like to engage with the material, it is online at Roundtable, and we have that engagement opportunity open for a few more weeks. So definitely go to the Roundtable project page, share your thoughts on the different elements of the comp plan that we've drafted up. That's all I have.
Mr. Stewart, too.
Great, thank you. Did you have a comment on that, Mayor?
So, Mr. Stewart, one of the things that I've been asked many times in this last couple of weeks from people in the community is about the future of our water people are concerned because of the water. So I think if we could put out some kind of a statement about, the new well that's coming and the, hooking up to CPU water or whatever, people would get some comfort knowing that we have more water coming online.
We could definitely put some information out there.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
Okay, great. And we'll go to Deputy City Manager.
My one most important thing is that Birdfest is coming up October 4th, October 1st Saturday. There will be a large number of First Saturday vendors at Davis Park. The Youth Entrepreneur Market will be at Overlook Park, along with a large craft station. Of course, there will be scheduled bands around town at the businesses, and hopefully lots of pickers jamming around downtown, along with activities on the refuge, which includes guided hikes. They will also have vendors. They partnered with the Art Association to do some art contests, and of course, just a refuge to explore. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Ms. Parker, I think we'll go to our city attorney online.
Hello.
Hi.
Let me see if I can get my camera turned on. There we go. Hello. How are you this evening? My one thing, I don't think I heard it reported, but I understand, and I just received a link that showed that the CTRAN board had filed a lawsuit against the Department of Washington and had actually gotten a preliminary injunction. And there will be further hearings to continue that injunction, I think, next week. But that had proceeded. So I don't know if council was aware of that. I assume that you are, but I just thought I would announce that, and I'm happy to answer any questions on that or any other items that you have.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Parker, for bringing that up. That was going to be one of my second things, but I was holding everybody to one thing, so I'm glad that you got a chance to talk about that. So, yes, and I think the hearing is going to be on October 3rd to hear it in Thurston County Superior Court. Yeah. Great. Thank you very much for the update. Any questions for the city attorney? Okay. And then lastly, but certainly not the least, we'll go to Chief Doriot.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing to add, but happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the chief? Seeing none, that will mean that we can adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.